Hello everybody, this is Wayne Teacher checking in here. Today I'd like to do a teaching demonstration about writing, and I'd like to highlight the differences between writing a letter, structure of a letter, as well as the structure of an article, the writing structure of an article. Okay, and we're also going to do a little bit of the writing samples with the given questions to us. So let's move on here. Okay, so first, the structure of a letter. Okay, before we move on into the specifics of the structure of a letter, let's look at the original question here, the new question. The question goes, let's write a letter inviting a friend to watch a sports match with you. You must write about where you will watch the sports match, what you will do at the sports match, and why you want your friend to watch the sports match with you. And of course, the limit is between 50 to 70 words. Okay, so first, so let's talk about the tone of a letter first. How can we convey our tone, right? So the tone of a letter is usually informal. Okay, it's personal, conversational, like with a friend, right? It's like speaking to somebody that you know, which should sound more friendly rather than formal. Like we try not to sound like an essay or a report in a letter. Okay, so we move on into the opening. In the opening of a letter, we say, "Dear this person," and it's followed by a friendly greeting, such as "How are you? I hope you're well," or you can apologize, and you want to show the difference between formal and informal to the examiner in your opening, that you can give an informal opening. So for example, so let's answer our letter here and do the opening. Let's say, "Dear James." Okay, and that's already enough for the opening. Now, the introduction, which is the first section of the letter, you want to show the purpose of the letter, and so you can say something like, "I'm writing to invite you to," or "I wanted to ask if you could help me with," right? You want to show intention and addressing the task directly, right? So let's say, "How are you? I hope you're well," right? "I'm writing to invite you to watch the football match with me." Okay, and this will suffice right here. This is sufficient because first it provides a friendly greeting, which makes the letter feel personal and natural when you say, "How are you? I hope you're well." And also, a second, it states the purpose of the letter clearly and immediately. The reader knows exactly why they're receiving this letter. And there's also the use of contractions. Contractions is like, rather than saying "I am," you say "I'm." So this shows like that you're being more casual and not too formal. It's more relaxed. So this is good as well. Reinforces the informal tone. Okay, now body paragraph 1. We want to address the first bullet points. Okay, we want to go for a structure of a letter. We want to go bullet point for bullet point. So the first bullet is, of course, where you will watch the sports match. So we just want to answer that head on. Okay, we want to describe and explain it directly, right? And we want to add one or two supporting sentences for detail to make what you say specific or real. So let's go ahead and say the match is at the stadium this Saturday. Right? This directly answers the question where you will watch the sports match. And then it's going to be an exciting game. Okay, so by stating both the place and time at the stadium and this Saturday, What we do as the writer, it provides all the necessary information in a single clear sentence. And of course, the supporting sentence here, right? It's going to be an exciting game. It adds enthusiasm and reinforces the positive tone. Okay. And then let's move on to the second bullet point, what you will do at the sports match, right? The second point, what are we going to do at the sports match? So we can also go head on with that, right? Explain your action, saying, I want to do this because, right? Add a 1, 2 supporting sentences for detail, and it shows the examiner that you can explain something. So to answer that second paragraph, say, this one doesn't belong here, right here, actually. All right, we'll grab some snacks, find our seats, and cheer for our team together. Okay, and this idea sentence, we'll grab some snacks, find our seats, cheer for our team together. It's a simple sentence, but it includes some concrete actions, and it creates a sense of excitement. All right, and it also addresses the second point head on. Now the third point of a letter, the third point we always expand on the most. Okay, we need the most expansion on the third bullet point. Right, as I said here, you expand and develop most here, stating your intentions. Right, I'm really hoping you'll join me, something like that. Add at least 2 support sentences after that. You want to give emotion, more enthusiasm. You want to show your conviction, make it personal, and you want to make it persuasive to the recipients of the letter. Right, so it would mean a lot to me, or I know we'd have a great time. So let's go ahead and answer this. Right. You can say, I'd really love you to come because I know you enjoy football as much as I do, and it would be much more fun to share the experience with you. We haven't spent time together in ages. All right. And this body paragraph covers the third bullet point well, which asks you to explain, like, why do you want your friend to come, and the most important part of the response, and we want to develop this accordingly. Okay, and the idea sentence of I'd really love for you to come because I know you enjoy football as much as I do, it addresses the friend's interests, and it shows that the invitation is very personal and thoughtful, as well as the supporting sentence, right? It would be much more fun to share the experience with you. We haven't spent time together in ages. It adds 2 more reasons on top of, right, 2 more additional support sentences, which is the value of sharing the experience and the desire to reconnect with an old friend. And this paragraph is longer and more detailed than the others, as it should be. All right, and then the closing, we want a polite way to ask for a response, and hoping for an agreement from the person. You can say, let me know what you think. I hope you make it. Take care. Best wishes. Cheers. Match the informal tone. So we can go ahead and say, let me know if you can make it. All right, there's some excitement there. And then you say, take care. And then you put your person's name. I'll use my own name here. Take care, Wayne. Okay, and that's pretty much it. Here we have our letter. Okay, we've addressed all the points and some other notes about letters. Okay, to wrap up. So once again, your letter should use contractions, right, to make it sound informal. Like rather than saying I am, we say I'm. Varied sentence starters, a more friendly tone, more natural conversational English. And we want to, as long as we make the reader feel like they're receiving a letter from a friend, it's a higher score. You're already on your way to a higher score, okay? Now let's go to the structure of an article here. Now, The tone. Okay, before we go into the tone, let's go into the question, right? Um, write an article arguing that we must help people in poverty. You could argue that living in poverty is bad for people's health. Everybody should help those in poverty. And your article, the word limit here is higher. It's 100 and 150 words here. Okay, and then for the bullet points, we don't have to address everything too head on, like the letter requires. For an article, the bullet points are more of a guide to you, right? So the tone. Let's go into the tone of an article. You're writing more for a general audience rather than for a close friend. Because for a letter, it's for a close friend, correct? So it could be readers of a school website, a magazine, or a blog. Articles are relatively formal, engaging, and persuasive, and we want to convince them of our point of view. Okay, and the first, excuse me, first and most important thing for an article is the title. We want it to be catchy, giving reader an idea, engaging, making it urgent. So the title of this would be "A Crisis We Cannot Not Ignore," to address the problem of poverty. Right? It grabs the attention immediately. A word like crisis, it signals urgency, while cannot ignore, it challenges the reader directly, and making it clear that this is an issue that demands instant action, perhaps. Right? And then going into the first paragraph, which would be the intro, we need a hook. Right? A hook or a rhetorical question or a surprising fact to capture the attention of the reader. So a hook here, I would say, have you ever walked past someone sleeping on the street and wondered how they ended up there? Okay. So this hook draws the reader in by creating a very vivid and relatable image, and getting you to empathize, to evoke a sense of empathy and relatability, right? And then you have the background info. I'm not going to put the background info here, but sometimes you can put what's the issue and the relevance. Like you can talk a little bit more about poverty here. But for this teaching demo, I'm not going to add the background. More importantly is the thesis. The thesis is, as if you don't know, it's the final sentence of the introduction paragraph. What the thesis does is it gives a clear opinion what your article will be about. It gives a clear direction for the rest of your article. Okay, so this is a very important part, which is poverty is not just a lack of money. It is a threat to both physical and mental health. All right, so this thesis right here, it challenges the common assumption that it's only about financial trouble, right? But not only are we talking about financial difficulties, we're also talking about health difficulties. And here I separated it into physical health and mental health. So physical health, this is going to set up our next two body paragraphs, right? The first body paragraph is going to talk about physical health, the impact of poverty on physical health, and then the impact of poverty on mental health, right? And then we can move on to body paragraph 1, which consists of, so the first sentence of a body paragraph, of course, is the topic sentence, right? You can say something like living in poverty is devastating for people's health. And then stating the point. So how about, so let's talk about physical first. Living in poverty takes a severe toll on physical health without access to proper. Okay, so that would be the topic sentence. So it states the point and links directly to the thesis, as we talked about, right? And then we have 2 or 3 support sentences after the topic sentence, which is the explanation sentence, to elaborate further on how poverty takes a toll on physical health, or a description of how, and then the sentence after that, it could be an example sentence, a statistic, or a real life example. So let's go ahead and add 2 or 3 more support sentences after the topic sentence. We'll continue to say, without access to proper nutrition, clean water, or medical care, those in poverty suffer from preventable diseases, malnutrition, and shorter life expectancies. And then after that, so we have our extra support sentence here, right? Talking about nutrition, clean water, medical care. It's just a good expansion. And then after that, we use another support sentence, but this support sentence, I'm going to use an example to highlight even further. Okay, so for example, children growing up in poverty often face developmental challenges that affect them for life. Okay, and here we are. So that's the, I would say this is body paragraph 1 right here. And body paragraph 2, so we can have a total of 3 paragraphs, body paragraphs, but in our thesis, we're only going with 2 body paragraphs in this sample article. So there's nothing wrong with only 2 paragraphs. It has to be at least 2 body paragraphs and maximum 3 body paragraphs. Okay, and for this case, for this example today, we're going to do 2 body paragraphs. So let's talk about the mental health aspect now. So here's the topic sentence of body paragraph 2. The mental health impact is equally devastating. Constant stress of financial insecurity, homelessness, and social exclusion leads to anxiety, depression, and a loss of self-worth. Many feel, okay, so here's the following, one more support sentence. Many feel trapped with no hope of escape. Okay, so here are 2 body paragraphs. I'm not going to stick them all together right now, but I'm sure it would look great if we put them all together. Conclusion is the final paragraph to wrap up our article. We can start off with saying in conclusion, or to sum up. And we want to paraphrase rather than try to repeat or be too repetitive. We don't want to be too repetitive. Or we can offer a final thought, a memorable ending. Okay, so we say something like, in conclusion, you cannot turn a blind eye. Poverty affects us all, and every one of us has the power to help. The question is not whether we should help, but whether we are willing to. Okay. So it's a very impactful sentence to say we cannot turn a blind eye. It challenges the reader directly, almost to incite him to some kind of action. And then the next sentence, poverty affects us all. So it shifts us from a problem to a solution, kind of. And the final sentence right here, the question is whether is not whether we should help, but whether we are willing to. Right? So it makes us reflect and act, leaving a lasting impression to the reader. Okay, so other notes about articles. We avoid contractions. So in a letter we say don't, but in an article we don't use contractions. We say do not. So it's more formal. As you can tell, all of this content here was more formal, much more formal than the letter, much more academic. We want to go for a sophisticated vocabulary, and we want to show a wider range of sentence structure, like complex sentences, compound complex sentences, and of course, like I said, it's more formal and it's a more polished form of writing. Okay, and that's pretty much it. To wrap things up, the main differences between a letter and an article is the audience. The letter, the audience for a letter is a friend, which is more personal, informal, conversational, colloquial, using slang, contractions, using humor and natural language. An article, the general audience is like maybe a student or a parent, right? Or a website, like it's more formal, respectful, and publicly engaging. The style of a letter, we use contractions, once again, friendly, informing, and inviting, expressing your personal feelings, whereas in an article, this should be article right here, it avoids slang, more persuasive and argumentative, arguing a point, which is why we have to use a thesis. And then we have the structure. The letter, the structure of a letter is opening, greeting, introduction, one paragraph per bullet point, and we have the closing and then the sign off. Whereas in an article, it's more complex and more academic. We have the title, the hook, the thesis, the 2 to 3 body paragraphs, topic sentence in each body paragraph, followed by support sentences. And in the final support sentences, we use examples. We back it up with example stats, or maybe an anecdote, like a story, a personal story, and then conclusion paragraph, right? And then the bullet points, going back to the bullet points, like these bullet points right here. How do we address the bullet points? In a letter, we must cover all 3 bullet points. With the third bullet point, more detailed and more expanded. As, in other words, the article, the bullet points are more optional prompts. We don't have to address them directly. It's more used as a guide to guide us. We don't have to follow strictly, and we can come up with our own ideas as long as we address the overall task. And finally is marking. The marking for a letter is 12 marks in total, 6 for content and communication, 6 for language. In a letter, there's more emphasis on the categories of accuracy and clarity, and there's less emphasis on sophisticated vocabulary or complex sentences. Whereas in an article, it's worth more marks, 23 marks in total, 8 marks for content and communication, and 15 marks for language. In an article, we want to be more ambitious for vocabulary and shoot for higher level words. More varied sentence structures, so it's more sophisticated in terms of language and sentence structuring, proving a more well-rounded and overall fluency and showing off your writing ability. Okay, so that's basically it. Here's my presentation, my demonstration of our writing between a letter and an article. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to hear from you soon.